Hi guys, and welcome to Gas City Gaming's Ixalan Set review. In this video, we'll be taking a look at all the red cards from Ixalan. Now keep in mind when you're watching these, we're going to take a look at the cards mostly in a limited context, so drafts, sealed releases, your pre-release, that kind of thing. If I think a card's good enough to make it into standard or some kind of constructed format, I'll mention it, but for the most part, this is just going to be a limited set review. So let's get started. Our first red card from Ixalan is going to be Angrath's Marauders. Now, for those of you that don't know, Angrath is actually a planeswalker we're going to get in the next set, who's a Minotaur planeswalker, so that's kind of cool. But as far as this card, Angrath's Marauders is 5 generic mana and 2 red for a rare creature. It's a human pirate, and it's a 4/4. It says if a source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage to that permanent or player instead. This kind of effect can be pretty big. Especially, personally, I'm probably throwing this in my red-green dinosaur deck, so all of a sudden my 5/5s, while they aren't turning into 10/10s, you know, that trample damage really matters now. You know, sneaking over an extra 2, that turns into 4, that's 20% your opponent's life total. There's a 4 damage burn spell, that's 8 now, you know, for 5 mana. So Angrath's Marauders, I would definitely include this card in my pre-release deck or my sealed deck if I do open it. If I'm in, you know, get the good red and green cards, or, you know, good top end red and green, maybe black creatures as well. Definitely include it in their draft. I'm not first pack. I don't know if I'm doing this. I want something a little more synergistic possibly in this set if there is something. But if there's not a lot of great cards, I certainly wouldn't be upset with taking this. Obviously later in the draft, if you know you're in that kind of, like I said, red, green, maybe black, maybe white dinosaur-ish deck, this wouldn't be bad as a curve topper. Makes all your dinosaurs that much more lethal. Bonded Horncrest. It's 3 generic mana and a red for an uncommon creature dinosaur. It's a 5/5 and it can't attack or block alone. Now this card does not need other dinosaurs, just needs another creature. So, Bonded Horncrest, if you're kind of playing that Naya or like a Jund deck or even just a red-green deck, you're going to have a lot of creatures. So, once in a while, this card won't be able to attack or block. But I think for the most part, you know, you're going to have something else on the board with this. So, I would include 1, maybe, I wouldn't, yeah, I'm iffy on it because I don't like these kinds of conditional things. If you watch some of the other set reviews, the condition, oh, this card's good on this condition. What if you don't have that condition? But Bonded Horncrest, I think if you've ever played with Mog Flunkies, very rarely does Mog Flunky go in the kind of deck, or this type of card go in the kind of deck where it doesn't have something to attack or block with. So because of that, I would take a Bonded Horncrest, or I would include one in my deck if I get it, just because the benefits, the potential benefits in this case, outweigh any kind of risk, in my opinion. Brazen Buccaneers, 3 generic mana and a red for a common creature. It's human pirate with haste, and it's a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, explore. Explore, so this is our first instance in a red set review of that. Explore says, reveal the top card of your library, put that card into your hand if it's a land. Otherwise, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, then put the card back on top of your library, or put it into your graveyard. So you either get a 3/3 with haste for 4, or you get a 2/2 with haste for 4, and guarantee you're going to hit your 5th land drop, or your next land drop anyway. So on curve, this could be good, but I don't feel great playing this later in the game. I want to play something, you know, a 3/4, or maybe even a 4/4 for 4. I want to get more value out of my mana for this, or even the 5/5 that can't attack or block. So Brazen Buccaneers, I would include one of it in the right deck, but this is probably, like I said, if you watch some of the other videos, you kind of know my thought around limited deck construction. It's kind of the general thoughts about it. You have your big bombs, you have your removal, you have your value creatures, then you're kind of filling out with, you know, pump maybe some other removal, something like that. This card for me is one of those ones that's going to make it in the 20 to 23rd or 24th possibly card slots for me. This feels like one of those creatures that might sneak its way in if I don't get something better. Burning Sun's Avatar, for example, is better. 3 generic mana and 3 red for a rare creature, dinosaur avatar. It's a 6/6. When Burning Sun's Avatar enters the battlefield, it deals 3 damage to target opponent and 3 damage to up to 1 target creature. So you get a 6/6, you get to bolt your opponent, and you get to bolt one of their creatures. That's pretty good value for me. This is just a, like I said, this is kind of getting into bomb territory. Obviously, it's the big red creature for the set and the red avatar. For me, this kind of fills a number of checkboxes. It's possible removal for a creature because you can play it post-combat. Maybe you attacked and your opponent's like, okay, well, block, and your creatures bounce. Oh, Burning Sun's Avatar, now your big thing is dead. Now I have a big thing instead, and I've done 3 to you too. So definitely Burning Sun's Avatar, if you open it, play it, as long as, of course, you have other red cards to support, because you can't exactly easily splash 3 red mana cost. So if you're kind of 2-color, red-green, red-black, whatever, definitely include your Burning Sun's Avatar. The reason I say if you're only a 2-color deck, 3-color deck triple mana costs are scary. And previously in pre-releases, I usually go 3-color. I've been pretty lucky. There's enough mana fixing in most sets to go 3-color to support it. But there's a few cards, if you watch some of the other set reviews, where you get a triple mana cost. Like in this case, the 3 red pips. And it's not... It makes me nervous about going 3-color when there's triple like that. Single, okay, no problem. Double mana cost, okay, but I want to make my mana base correctly. But when you start getting into triple of a certain color, that makes me really want to go just 2-color if I can. And this is the kind of thing that might make me include a couple mediocre cards rather than a few good cards from another set, because this card is so good. Captain Lannery Storm, a 2 generic mana and a red for a rare legendary creature, human pirate. It's 2/2 with haste, and says whenever Captain Lannery Storm attacks, create a colorless treasure artifact token. Treasure tokens say, tap, sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Whenever you sacrifice a treasure, Captain Lannery Storm gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So, essentially, ideally you're playing her on turn 2. She'll come down 2/2, attack, you'll get a treasure. You can then tap sack the treasure to make her into a 3/2 attacking on turn 3. That's pretty good. If you're playing a black, kind of a black-red deck with a lot of treasures, she can get really good, but she's only ever going to have 2 toughness. That's what makes me a little scared about her. Or scared for her, sorry. But she can definitely get in there and hit really good a couple of times for sure. So I like Captain Lannery Storm. I'm just not... This one isn't included in the bomb category for me. Burning Sun's Avatar is a bomb. Captain Lannery Storm is not. Captivating Crew, 3. This is also a bomb in my opinion. 3 generic mana and a red for a rare creature human pirate. It's a 4/3, so already good stats. 4/3 for 4, I'm happy with that. You can pay 3 generic mana and a red to gain control of target creature an opponent controls until end of turn. Untap that creature. It gains haste until end of turn. Activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery. So, Captivating Crew has a threaten effect on a stick. You gotta steal your opponent's creature. Even later in the game, you can actually do this twice a turn. It doesn't say tap, pay 4, it just says pay 4. So you can steal a good chunk of your opponent's army, attack with it, either attack with just it, and they have a choice of taking 6 to 8 damage, or blocking with their own creatures and killing just their own creatures. Because of that, I really like Captivating Crew. Especially because it's an on-board, repeatable effect. If I'm playing red, I usually like to include one of this kind of effect when it's just on a card. Just because my opponent plays something big, or kind of gummed up the board, I get to steal their something big, hit them with it, maybe kill one of their creatures, if nothing else, hit them for a bunch. This lets me do that as a mana sink. Late game, I got Captivating Crew, I'm drawing land, hey, I'm up to 8 land. Okay, I steal a couple of your things, hit you with them. So Captivating Crew in and of itself, I think, can win games. Not the turn it hits, but it's going to have an impact and force your opponent, if nothing else, to remove this. When you have your other bigger stompier creatures out, they're going to be focused on the Captivating Crew, and hopefully maybe even it just might win you games before they even get a chance to remove it. So I do like Captivating Crew for sure. I would first pick this just because, I would first pick it because it's a single red mana symbol, like I was saying, so you can even splash it in other decks. To me, it's worth being splashed for sure. Otherwise, and if you're playing the red deck, it's just an auto include for me. So there's not a situation where I get a Captivating Crew where I don't want to play it, unless I really have no other support in red for some reason. Charging Monstrosaur is another just awesome card. Red seems really good. 4 generic mana and a red for an uncommon creature dinosaur, 5/5 with trample and haste. Couldn't push it anymore. I'd play 2, I might even play 3 of these if I have a little ramp in my deck. Take them all, play them all, it's a good card. We've had similar things before, but usually with a downside or slightly more expensive. Like I believe it was an Aether Revolt. There was I think it cost 6 or 7, but it had improvise, so you could tap artifacts in order to get it out a little earlier if you wanted. But even it was just a 4/4 trample haste. So even at that point, it was smaller. So Charging Monster is as pushed as they can make this, essentially. Pretty close to it. If it had some kind of enter the battlefield effect, it would be a rare kind of thing. So Charging Monster, just pick them, play them. Again, you can even splash this because it's a single red mana cost. That's how good it is. Awesome card. Pick it, play it, have fun with it. Demolish. 3 generic mana and a red for a common sorcery. We've seen it before. It says destroy target artifact or land. This is a sideboard card. Really good sideboard card. If your opponent has one of the legendary flip lands, I would sideboard this in if you see it in game 1. If they have a really good bomb artifact you want to make sure dies, side it in after game 1 if you see it. There's not enough good things in this set for me to include this in my main. Like in Aether Revolt, this was in there, and I included it in my main deck at pre-releases because there were so many artifacts, everybody was playing something, so it had targets. In this set, not so much, but this is definitely a solid sideboard card. Something I'm going to keep. When I do my pre-releases and sealed events, I don't know about you guys, but I keep my, okay, this is going to be useful in this situation. I keep that separate from, the 2 or 3 colors I didn't play. Those go at the back of my deck box, and my certain sideboard cards go at the front. This is one of the things that's staying at the front in my sideboard. Dinosaur Stampede. 3 generic mana and a red for a uncommon instant that says attacking creatures get +2/+0 until end of turn. Dinosaurs you control gain trample until end of turn. This card, again, tells you how to play it. You want to be playing this card in your aggressive deck, preferably your aggressive dinosaur deck, to get all the benefits out of it. A Trumpet Blast type of effect if you've been around for a while, giving all of your attacking creatures +2/+0, giving them trample as well can just end the game. This is one of those cards when you draw it can break that stalemate on the ground, because you're going to be killing a lot of your opponent's board, possibly getting some damage into their face as well, with hopefully a couple of your creatures left over. And just a Dinosaur Stampede, I like it. Dinosaur decks are going to play this 100% for sure. It has the word dinosaur right on it, so you know it's supposed to go in there. Even just regular aggressive red decks. Say if a red-black pirate deck, I would still play this. Because pumping the team in those red-black pirate decks that tend to go a little wider than they go tall, pumping a wide team like this can win you the game. So I'd play a Dinosaur Stampede, maybe even 2 in the right deck for sure. If you're lacking some other removal or pump, I'd be happy playing 1, maybe 2 of these. Dual Shot is a red mana for a common instant that says Dual Shot deals 1 damage to each of up to 2 target creatures. You're thinking, oh, 1 damage, blah, blah, blah. How many X1s have we seen in this format? How many, we haven't seen a ton yet, but when we get into more in red and green dinosaurs, we're going to see the Enrage mechanic. Whenever they're dealt damage, you get usually a pretty good effect. And Dual Shot's a good way to set that off. So because of that, I would play a Dual Shot, maybe 2. In my deck, there are some other better versions of this in the set. You can split 2. I believe there's you can do split 2 damage however you like. But I would, because if you're playing a couple Enrage cards, definitely throw a Dual Shot or 2 in your deck because you want to set off that Enrage. Also, just like I said, there's going to be a lot of X1s. You can use this kind of as a combat trick to, your opponent blocks your creature. You say, oh, well, I'm going to finish off your creature now as well. Kind of, so it's semi-removal, but you also want to see this as almost kind of pump as well, because you're going to be setting off those Enrage mechanics too. So because of that, I'd be happy playing a Dual Shot or 2. Fathom Fleet Firebrand. Generic and a red mana for a common creature. It's a human pirate. It's a 2/2. So it's a bear with fixed fire breathing. So fixed fire breathing is, and you can pay generic mana and a red Fathom Fleet Firebrand, hard to say, gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So you play this on turn 2, you don't have a 3-drop, you play your land, you attack with it, it's a 3/2. And probably, this is the kind of thing that can trade up at certain points of the game, or your opponent always has to be careful and block this, because maybe you can pump it up to a 4/2 or a 5/2. So this is the kind of card that I like playing. This is a solid 2-drop in red. I'd be happy about playing a copy of Fathom Fleet Firebrand, and this is also the kind of card that you might see later in a pack in a draft, because people are like, oh, I don't need a bear, it's meh, it's kind of whatever. If it isn't a really good fit for their deck, they might not pick it, so you might see it, and I'd be happy about seeing it, mid, possibly late pack. If this goes late pack, I think that's a mistake on your fellow draftees' part, because they should either be taking it so they can play it, or just hate drafting it because it's going to be really good in certain decks. Sealed as well. I'm throwing this in other decks. For example, with our Bonded Horncrest, this is going to be a partner so that thing can attack as well a lot of the time. So I like Fathom Fleet Firebrand. I'd gladly let it have a spot in my 2-drop slot. Fiery Cannonade is 2 generic mana and a red for an uncommon instant. Fiery Cannonade deals 2 damage to each non-pirate creature. So obviously, you're not playing this in your dinosaur deck a whole lot. I might sideboard it in if I'm playing in my red X dinosaur deck, just because a lot of my dinosaurs are going to have more than 2 toughness, so this won't essentially hurt them, whereas it could wipe out a lot of my opponent's board. There's a lot of X2s, X1s in this format, so it's going to wipe out a lot of those. If I am playing that red-black or possibly red or blue pirate deck, then I would include this in that for sure. So in the right deck, this is going to be real good, but not in all of them for sure. Obviously, if you're playing a pirate deck, you want to include this because it leaves your board, right? So in draft, this is going to be good. Sealed, it has its spots. Nothing really past that, I don't think. But again, you can play this. This is one of those things where you have to pay attention to your creature types, pay attention to the damage on the board. You don't want to often play this post-combat if you're playing the dinosaur deck, because it's probably going to finish off a couple of your creatures. So watch how you play it, but if you play it properly, it's going to do some work for you. I wouldn't be shy. Definitely include it in the pirate deck. Might include a copy in my dinosaur deck, but I can possibly see it coming out in post-game ones, like post-sideboarded games. So watch out for it. Fire Cannon Blast is 1 generic mana and 2 red for a common sorcery. It says Fire Cannon Blast deals 3 damage to target creature. It also has a raid trigger. Fire Cannon Blast deals 6 damage to that creature instead if you attacked with a creature this turn. So this is one of those things that lets you attack into big dinosaurs and just kill them. Because, okay, attack, let's say it's a 9/9. Attack with my 3/2, okay, blocked my 9/9. Okay, Fire Cannon Blast, it's dead now. So, yes, you got 2 for 1, but it was a 9/9. Okay? And they're probably going to be playing one of those because it's a big, expensive, dumb creature. Other than that, Fire Cannon Blast is the kind of removal you get in red. So if you're playing red-black for pirates, for example, there are some kill spells, but I'm definitely including Fire Cannon Blast in my removal package too. Just for that turn 3, your opponent plays a 4/3, you can Fire Cannon Blast it right back on your turn, and it negates their turn. So I'd be happy playing a Fire Cannon Blast, even a couple of them really, because this is the kind of removal you get in red, and you got to be happy playing what you get sometimes. Fire Shrine Keepers, 1 red mana for a creature. It's an elemental at common. It's a 1/1 with menace. It pays 7 generic mana and a red for tap, sack it. It deals 3 damage to each of up to 2 target creatures. So I like this because it's a 1/1 with menace, so it's going to be getting in there. If you play it turn 1, it's going to get in 2 or 3 times probably. So if you can put an enchantment on it, like the reprinted, essentially, Spectral Flight, it's going to be a 3/3 with menace on turn 2, and that's pretty good. You see why Spectral Flight was broken back in the day. Anyway, old hexproof player talking about hexproof things. This is the red card in the cycle of these pay 8, tap sack, and it does something. This I don't like as much, just because, yes, it lets me hit creatures for 3, possibly kill something, but I'd be more excited about this if it dealt 3 damage to each of up to 2 target creatures or opponents, and you could, do 3 to a creature and do 3 to their face as well. I'd be more excited about it. But just doing 3 to each of up to 2 target creatures, I'm not too excited about, unfortunately. I'm playing this more in a 1-drop slot because it's a 1/1 with menace. If I can kill something with it, bonus, but I'm playing this more just because of the body of the creature itself. Frenzied Raptor is a solid 3-drop for your dinosaur deck. It's 2 generic mana and a red for a common creature dinosaur, and it's a 4/2. That's all. So you're aggressively costed dinosaur. You play this, you play your Bonded Horn Crest, you're 5/5, and you attack with them on turn 5 for a bunch. And maybe you can even get into your Monstrosaur, charging Monstrosaur on turn 5, and you're attacking for a bunch on turn 5. You're attacking for 14 on turn 5, and your opponent's not having a lot of fun at that point, I'm willing to guess. So I'd play a Frenzied Raptor, maybe 2. The 2 toughness makes me nervous because it's going to trade down a lot against 2/1s and stuff like that, but I'd play 1 or 2, just if I'm lacking some other 3-drops, depending what other color you're playing as well, but I'd definitely play at least 1 Frenzied Raptor. Headstrong Brute is 2 generic mana and a red for a common orc pirate. It can't block. Headstrong Pirate has menace as long as you control another pirate, and it's a 3/3. So obvious include in your pirate deck, so 3/3 with menace on turn 3 is just going to be good, because there are other cheap pirates in other colors, so it's going to have menace a lot, and nothing else to 3/3 for 3. So depending how your deck construction goes, you might want to include a Headstrong Brute. If you're playing a more aggressive deck or dinosaur deck, you might want to include a Frenzied Raptor. If you're playing a more pirate-centric deck, this is why we're talking about this. So they're both 3-drops. Which do I play? Aggressive, attacking dinosaur deck wants Frenzied Raptor. Red-black pirate deck that's maybe not as aggressive, maybe a little more control-y, a little more building wide, wants a Headstrong Brute instead. It's an aggressive creature, obviously because it can't block, and it has Menace, and it's a 3/3 on 3. If you're gonna control other pirates, but with your other pirate type cards, you're gonna be either bouncing things, killing things, burning things, and getting stuff out of the way for the Headstrong Brute to get through on its own. So, and it's not gonna trade down as much because of the 3 toughness. So, depending on your deck type, those are the 2 differences for 3 drops. Well, there's more than 2 3-drops, but those are some of the differences between the types of 3-drops you see in red. Hijack is another 3-drop. Like I said, I like including at least a copy of a card like this in some of my red decks, but let's go over it first. Hijack is a 1 generic mana and 2 red. It's a common sorcery. Gain control of target artifact or creature until end of turn. Untap it, it gains haste until end of turn. So Hijack lets you steal either their vehicle or their creature of theirs as well. This is what we call a threaten effect, because you get to take their big thing, hit them with it. Threaten was one of the original cards that did this. You got to take their thing, hit them with it, have fun. Also, this is a picture of Angrath, actually, so this is the Planeswalker we're getting. The flavor text of this says, "Trapped on Ixalan, the Planeswalker Angrath is the only Minotaur sailing the seas. No matter how many ships he captures, he cannot break free." So he's trying to escape Ixalan. If you're not aware of the story-wise, I won't go into it too deeply, but basically, once you planewalk to Ixalan, you can't planeswalk off yet. So maybe the Gatewatch is just stuck there, or maybe Jace is just stuck there, who knows. Anyway, Hijack, like I said, in a red deck, I'm usually throwing one of these in. Maybe not if you're splashing red for your 3rd color, because it is a double red cost, like we've gone over with mana costs. You don't want to include too much double red or double costs if you can help it. But if you're solidly into red, definitely include a copy of Hijack. It just almost always pays off. Your opponent plays their big thing, and you get to attack with it. They play their big, especially if you have some kind of sacrifice outlet. Love doing that. You take your opponent's thing, hit them with it, and sacrifice it. So they don't even get to play with their toy. Lightning Rig Cruise, 2 generic mana and a red for an uncommon creature. It's a Goblin Pirate. It's a 0/5. It has tap. Lightning Rig Crew deals 1 damage to each opponent. Whenever you cast a pirate spell, untap Lightning Rig Crew. These are the kind of cards is going to go in your Grixis, red-black, red-blue-ish pirate deck. Because every turn, it's dealing 1 to your opponent. It's 0/5, so it's going to block a lot of things. Plus, if you are playing a really pirate-heavy deck, you can do 2-3 damage in 1 turn just with your Lightning Rig Crew. So it's a solid card. I like playing a card or 2 like this in my deck. If you're playing a more dirtily pirate deck, which you're playing red, so maybe you aren't, but if you're just say if you're playing black-blue pirates, you want to splash for your Lightning Rig Crew because you're just getting a lot of value out of it, I would definitely do that as well. That's my personal playstyle. I like these ping effects. So I would be very happy. I'm not first picking a Lightning Rig Crew, but, you know, second go around, second pack, if I'm starting going to pirate deck, I'm definitely taking it and being interested. Also in my sealed events, so pre-releases, if you're watching this before you head out to your pre-release, if you're playing those here in Pirates, you know, set a copy of this aside and see if you can play some red just to get it in there. Could be worth it for sure for a Lightning Rig Crew. Lightning Strike. This is where we're at with Magic now. We're happy to pay 2 damage or 2 mana for 3. Lightning Strike is an uncommon and a red for an colorless mana, or a generic mana. That's the word. And a red for an uncommon instant. Lightning Strike deals 3 damage to target creature or player. Pick them, play them. They're great. Instant speed burn for cheaper than our common that we had earlier for 3. Instant speed that hits player or creature. This is, it's not the bolt we want, but it's the bolt we get right now, is a Lightning Strike. So play them, pick them, be happy with them, because you will be when you play them. Makeshift Munitions, generic mana and a red. For a uncommon enchantment, it says pay 1 generic mana, sacrifice an artifact or creature. Makeshift Munitions deals 1 damage to target creature or player. This one I'm not as excited about, just because it doesn't do anything on its own, and it makes me lessen my board state in order to ping my opponent, versus the cannon, the Lightning Rig Crew, just on its own will do 1 damage every turn. With the Makeshift Munitions, I have to sacrifice something to do 1 every turn. Yes, I can possibly do a bunch if I have a bunch of mana and a bunch of creatures or a bunch of treasures. I can do a bunch potentially, but I might not. Whereas Lightning Crew is just a clock. As long as Lightning Crew is out, it's going to do damage. So that's why I personally, like, I can see in the right deck, if you're playing a really treasure-heavy deck, you can pay a bunch, sacrifice them, do 4 or 5 damage. And it could be good. I'm not saying it couldn't be, but For my style in the pirate deck, I want to play a Lightning Rig Crew because it's blocking creatures, and it's something my opponent has to use their removal on, rather than my big dinosaurs or my big pirates, whatever I'm doing that way. So I prefer Lightning Rig Crew to makeshift munitions, but in the right deck, could be good. Nest Robber is a generic mana and a red for a common creature dinosaur. It's a 2/1 with haste. So this is a really good creature for your cheap 2-drop slot, because it's going to get in the turn it comes down usually, especially if you're on the play. If your opponent doesn't have a 1-drop in their opening hand, which definitely doesn't always happen in drafts and sealed events, the Nest Robber is going to get in for its 2. Might even get in for 4. And this is going to be a good card to set off other things that you may be playing that care about having dinosaurs. This is a good thing to just sit there, let your opponent, say if you have the white card that cares about, that gets flying if you have a dinosaur, the Pterodon Knight. Nest Robber is going to be good to help that out, to give that flying, to again, let it threaten and get things over with its evasion. So I'd be happy playing a Nest Robber. Ideally, I'd take like a Nest Robber and a Fathom Fleet Firebrand. One of each, I'd definitely be happy playing in my 2-drop slot, for sure. Otepec Huntmaster. If I'm butchering that, I apologize. Generic mana and a red for an uncommon human shaman. It's a 1/2. And it says dinosaur spells you cast cost 1 generic mana less to cast. Tap, target dinosaur creature gains haste until end of turn. So if you're playing really heavy dinosaur deck, I'd include one of these in there as well. Because if I can drop my charging Monstrosaur on turn 4, 5/5 haste trample turn 4, that's just really good. Makes your other, obviously if it makes them cheaper, it makes them better. But don't rely on this making your dinosaurs cheaper. Like if I'm playing an Otepec Huntmaster, I'm not counting it as my 17th land, because no, that's not how you do that. Giving other dinosaurs haste is also good, so if you play your big old 9/9, it can tromp in the turn you play it, but I've played one of, but I'm not relying on this in order to win the game kind of thing. So Otepec Huntmaster in your dinosaur heavy decks is an include for me. Rampaging Ferocidon is 2 generic mana and a red for a creature dinosaur at rare. It's a 3/3 with menace. It says players can't gain life. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, Rampaging Ferocidon deals 1 damage to that creature's controller. So, if you're playing against a vampire deck, this card is made to play against a vampire deck. Vampire decks have a bunch of lifelink. They have a bunch of little tokens that enter the battlefield. They have cards that come back onto the battlefield. So, to me, that's the card that this is meant to play with, because it negates the lifelink, does that. It's a solid 3-drop, 3/3 with menace, so I'm playing it already on its own. But just be aware that this also sets off your creatures as well. So when you play a creature, this will deal 1 damage to you too. So make sure you keep track of that. So you might not always want to drop this on turn 3. You might want to play a couple of your creatures, have a good board out, then drop the Ferocidon. You know, when you want to start attacking, or when your opponent wants to start attacking with their lifelink vampires, or when they're going to start generating a lot of tokens, for example, that's when you want to drop your Rampaging Ferocidon, maybe turn 5-ish, 5-6, after you've built up your board already. So this doesn't burn you. You just want this to burn your opponent if you can help it. But definitely including your dinosaur decks for sure. Even if, say, you're playing a splash red for something, and you find yourself up against a vampire deck that's gaining a lot of life, it's getting a lot of tokens out, and you're not having this in your deck, this is in your sideboard, bring it in to play against that deck. It's a definitely really good answer for limited environments when you're playing against that lifelink strategy, in drafts as well, because drafts are going to be able to get a more usually synergistic deck. So they're going to be able to set off the life gain in their deck a lot more in a draft than in sealed environments, but definitely an include just based on the body. And even if you're not including it, keep it fresh for your sideboards, because it's going to be coming in against those vampires. Raptor Hatchling is adorable, first of all. It's a generic mana and a red for an uncommon creature dinosaur. It's a 1/1 with Enrage. Whenever a Raptor Hatchling is dealt damage, create a 3/3 dinosaur creature token with trample. Now, obviously, it's a 1/1, so it's going to die to any damage. So essentially, this is kind of like a raptor, what you got, Drake's Egg or Dragon Egg kind of effect. So you can play this on turn 2. You might be able to ping it once. What I kind of want to do with this card is put an enchantment on it or something that boosts its toughness, and then have it be pinged a bunch so I can keep getting 3/3s. If you can do that, that's kind of magical Christmas land, but that's the dream scenario with this. But other than that, if you're playing a deck that cares about having dinosaurs for other benefits, I'd include this. Because you get it's 4/4 across 2 bodies for 2 mana. So because that's definitely included, I might throw one in my dinosaur deck if I'm a little weak in the 2-drop slot. Because a 3/3 free 3/3 with trample is never a bad thing. It's an overcosted 1/1, but it's definitely an undercosted 3/3 with trample. So I'd play one in my dinosaur deck, or even if you're playing a deck that cares a little bit about having dinosaurs, like some of our white cards do, for example. So, and also it's adorable. Repeating Barrage, the generic mana and 2 red for a rare sorcery. Repeating Barrage deals 3 damage to target creature or player. Now we saw this before. Why is this special and different? Because it has Raid. For 3 generic mana and 2 red, return Repeating Barrage from your graveyard to your hand. Activate this ability only if you attack with a creature this turn. It could be good. I don't know how many times you're going to get that Raid trigger off, because I'd rather be paying 5 mana for a big creature, for a charging, or is it, what's it called? Charging Monstrosaur, than to get a 3 damage burn spell back to my hand. Yeah, it's repeating and it's great, but first you have to attack, then you have to pay 5 mana to get it back, then you have to pay 3 mana to cast it again. So you have to pay 8 mana to do 3 repeatedly. That doesn't seem as good. I'd include it in my deck because it's 3 mana for 3 damage to a creature or player. I'm playing it because of that. I'm not relying on getting this raid trigger off a whole bunch of those. So later in the game, if you have something big, you can keep sending into their line, or, you know, if you keep drawing lands and you have an unblockable 1/1, you can keep sending in the line, okay, then you can get it back. But I'm not playing this because it has that raid bringing it back, the repetition clause kind of thing to it. I'm just playing this because it does 3. Rigging Runner is red mana for a 1/1. It's an uncommon goblin pirate with first strike. It has Raid. Rigging Runner enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it, +1/+1 counter on it, if you attack with a creature this turn. So, like, it's a 2/2 for 1. Don't get me wrong. With first strike, possibly. But don't look at this as a 1-drop, because I don't want to play this on turn 1. I want to play this, unless you have something that can blink stuff, like the couple of blue creatures we saw that can blink stuff, or the blue cards that can blink stuff, because I want to play this, I want my 2/2 with first strike. Maybe I'm just greedy, but this often isn't coming down on turn 1, shouldn't be coming down on turn 1. Hopefully comes down on turn 2 as a 2/2 with first strike. And if it does, that's really good. It's going to make a good blocker. If I can put some kind of enchantment on this to pump it up, make it fly or something, that's when it's going to be good. But I'm a little shy about playing this unless I'm playing it in the right kind of deck with some blink cards. In a vacuum, I'm not playing Rigging Runner. If I have some blink cards or a really aggressive deck, then I'm going to play it. Ryle, for 1 red mana, it's a common sorcery. Ryle deals 1 damage to target creature you control, and that creature gains trample until end of turn. Draw a card. So this is your awesome enrage trigger, because you get your enrage trigger, the creature gets trample, and you get a draw card, all for 1 mana. That's really good, because sometimes, like we've seen, our raid can pump the creature, raid can let you draw a card, raid can let you do a bunch of really good things. Plus you're pumping the creature in a way, not toughness or power wise, but it's getting trample, so if it's a big dumb creature, it's going to get through to their face, or at minimum kill 1 or 2 other creatures, and you get a draw card in red. And red doesn't get a lot of draw card. We usually have to rummage, like draw and discard, or discard and draw with red. So if you can just get draw card with red, you're doing alright. So I do like Ryle. Definitely play it in your dinosaur decks if you have any enraged cards. I might even just play it on its own too, because giving a creature trample and drawing a card for 1 mana in red is just good. Rowdy Crew, 2 generic mana and 2 red for a 3/3. It's a mythic human pirate. It has trample. When Rowdy Crew enters the battlefield, draw 3 cards, then discard 2 cards at random. If 2 cards share a card type are discarded this way, put 2 +1/+1 counters on Rowdy Crew. That's a lot of things for not a very good card. Draw 3 cards, discard 2 at random. If they're both lands, or both creatures, or both enchantments, or both instants or sorceries, it becomes a 5/5 with trample for 4. The charging Monstrosaur is better. Sorry, it is. Rowdy Crew, I'm not super high on. I might include it if I'm hurting for creatures, if I'm hurting at the 4-drop slot. This, to me, even though it's mythic, this one is kind of in either my fill-out portion, like this is not a bomb, it's not removal, this is in my fill-out, if I'm hurting for creatures, this is in my fill-out value creatures slot, maybe even if I'm in my 20 to 23rd card slot if I have some other good stuff. So Rowdy Crew, not super high on it, probably will still play it, but just because it's a decent body, but not counting on it to win like most mythics would. Rummaging Goblin is a 2 generic mana and a red for a common creature. It's a Goblin Rogue. It's a 1/1, and it has tap, discard a card, draw a card. This is how the mechanic got named Rummage, is because of Rummaging Goblin. So you tap, you discard a card first, and then you draw a card. This is worse than looting, because when you loot, you get to draw the card, and then if it was garbage, you also get to discard that card, right? So you get to draw the card. With looting, with rummaging here, you get to have to discard the card first before you can draw a card. So, Rummaging Goblin, I'm not super excited to play it in this set. Honestly, and it's an uncosted body, so I'm probably never going to play a Rummaging Goblin in red. Yes, it's draw a card, but I don't want my red deck to be the Dirtle deck. So I'm not. It's not even a relevant creature type. It's not a pirate. It's not a dinosaur. It's not a Goblin pirate or anything. So I'm not playing my Rummaging Goblin if I get them. Sorry, guys. Star of Extinction is 5 generic mana and 2 red for a mythic sorcery. Destroy target land. Star of Extinction deals 20 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. This is your board wipe in red. I'm going to play it because you get destroy land, and it's better to have and not need a board wipe than need and not have it. Right? So your red deck, say if you're playing against the pirate player and you have a couple of creatures out, but they're starting to go wide, or the vampire player is starting to go wide, oh, you got to kill everything. Unless something somehow has indestructible. But 20 damage is going to kill anything in the set, obviously. So Star of Extinction, I'm playing it because board wipes in Limited are just good. Yes, it's 7 mana, so it seems a little expensive, but games aren't ending, even though it seems a really aggressive format with a lot of the dinosaurs and stuff we've seen, games aren't ending on turn 5. Getting to 7 and 8 mana in this format is not going to be unheard of, so Star of Extinction, it's going to have its spot for sure, and I'm going to play it in my deck if I get it. Stormfleet Arsonist is 4 generic mana and a red for an uncommon creature. It's an orc pirate, that's a 4/4. Has raid. When Stormfleet Arsonist enters the battlefield, if you attack with a creature this turn, target opponent sacrifices a permanent. So, if you drop this on turn 5, and your opponent's short on land, they're going to sacrifice a creature. Probably their most meaningless creature. If it's late game, they're just going to sack a land, which is not meaningless. I'm probably just going to play this in my 5-drop slot in my pirate deck, because it's a decent body. It's a 4/4 for 5. It's fine. And you might get something good out of it. So I'm going to play this anyway, but I'm not super excited. Like, I would personally probably rather have another Charging Monster. So I know, that card's super good. I'm mentioning it a lot, but I would rather have that, especially my uncommon slot for 5. Because the body's bigger, it's trample haste, it's going to hit more, hit harder, hit before this does. So I'm picking that over the Stormfleet Arsonist. But I would include Stormfleet Arsonist in my deck if I didn't have anything better for sure. This is still my value fill-out creature slot for me. Stormfleet Pyromancer. 4 generic mana and a red for a common human pirate wizard. It's a 3/2 with raid. When Stormfleet Pyromancer enters the battlefield, if you attack with a creature this turn, Stormfleet Pyromancer deals 2 damage to target creature or player. So, it's, if you're light on removal, I can see playing this, because this is kind of has removal stapled onto it like that, but 3/2 for 5 is not what I want to be doing at all. So I have to have attacked with something, you know, say I attack with my 3/3 into their 5/5, they block it, okay, Stormfleet Pyromancer, kill that, 2 for 1. Myself kind of there, but, so Stormfleet Pyromancer is okay, but I'm only really going to be playing it if I'm, like I said, if I'm light on other removal, or really light on creatures. But I'm not going to be hoping to play it for sure. Sunbird's Invocation is 5 generic mana and a red for a rare enchantment. Whenever you cast a spell from your hand, reveal the top X cards of your library, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. You may cast a card revealed this way with converted mana cost X or less without paying its mana cost. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. I like this. This is honestly my first time seeing this card. I hadn't seen it before. Usually, if you've watched my reviews before, I don't like do-nothing cards on the turn they come in. Right, this is going to be good on your next turn. So, I want to play this more in the Grixis Pirate deck than in the Dinosaur deck. Dinosaur deck, this isn't aggressive enough for me. But I want to play this in the Grixis Pirate deck because I'm probably going to have enough removal in that deck, enough Dirtle in that deck, to play this and then do something on the next turn and get something for free. So, how this works, play this, you play a 4/4, reveal the top 4, or sorry, you pay a 4-mana spell, reveal the top 4 cards. There's a 3-mana spell in there. You get to play that for free, right? So you paid 4 mana to cast a spell, and you got another 3-mana spell for free. If you can play another spell after that, so you're on turn 7 at that point. So say you play a 3-mana spell, flip over the top 3, play a 3 mana cost spell or less from those 3 for free. Sometimes you're going to whiff. That's how it works. Sometimes Coco didn't hit anything, right? But I like this card in the kind of Dirtle, control-y Grixis deck. But free spells are good spells. Sunbird's Invocation gives you free spells. Sun-Crowned Hunters. 4 generic mana and 2 red for a common creature dinosaur. It's a 5/4, has Enrage. Whenever it is dealt damage, deals 3 damage to target opponent. This is the kind of Enrage trigger I want to be setting off a lot. So it's a 5/4 for 6, which is fine. It's not great, but it's fine. But with the Bolt clause on it, okay, not Bolt, with the Lava Spike clause on it, it's good. It turns my dual shots into a Lava Spike, which is good. If I can do that enough, I win. Your opponent doesn't want to attack into this even. They don't want to attack with their 2/2 and take a Lava Spike to the face because they don't want that. Who wants that? So I like Sun-Crowned Hunters. I would even include 1, maybe 2. If I don't have a lot of more of expensive drops in my deck, I might include 2 of these just because they're that good. Sure Strike, +1, generic mana and a red for a common instant. Target creature gets +3/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. So this goes in my value spell portion because this is the way I look at pump spells, especially a spell like this where it gives you first strike, is this is also removal. Because it's a card that's going to kill your opponent's creature, right? It's hopefully going to push some more damage through for you. It might do that. It might just win you the game because you do 3 more damage, but it's also just going to kill your opponent's creature. So view this, that's how I tend to view pump spells, is, I mean, maybe I'm going to do more damage and win, but it's also a good chance I'm just going to kill my opponent's creature because I played this card. So I look at it that way. So I would be happy including a Sure Strike. I don't want multiples of these because I prefer just straight up removal. But Sure Strike, I'd definitely be happy including a copy of it in my deck. Swashbuckling. Generic mana and a red for a common enchantment aura. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and haste. So, for example, our 1/1 Menace guy, I want to toss this on there. 1/1 Haste Menace on turn 2. Or sorry, 3/3 Menace Haste on turn 2. That seems real good. This is the kind of enchantment I like. It's good now. It's been good before. This is, not a big fan of enchantments, but because this is so aggressive, can turn your 1-drops big. Imagine putting this on, something big, giant, stupid dinosaur. Putting this on any kind of menace creature is going to be really good because it hits the board. Then you give it haste for another 2 mana. It's going to be good. I'm a fan, if you can't tell. I'd play a Swashbuckling in my deck very gladly. Yes, you always have a chance of getting 2 for 1 with enchantment auras, but for this, the upside, I think, is there for me to want to play it. Thrash of Raptors is 3 generic mana and a red for a common creature dinosaur. It's a 3/3. As long as you control another dinosaur, Thrash Raptors gets +2/+0 and has trample. Now, if I don't have very many other dinosaurs, I'm not playing Thrash of Raptors. If I have a lot of other dinosaurs, it's a 5/3 with trample for 4, which I'm definitely playing. That's as simple as this card is. You got dinosaurs in your deck, a lot of them, like 10 or more, play Thrasher Raptors. You got 2 or 3 other dinosaurs, don't play Thrasher Raptors. Done. Tillanali's Knight. Yeah, that's how you say it. Tillanali's Knight is a generic mana and a red for a common human knight. It's a 2/2. Whenever it attacks, if you control a dinosaur, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So, again, this is where our little hatchling comes in handy as our 1-drop dinosaur, or doesn't have haste. On turn 3, you can drop a dinosaur, and this attacks as a 3/3, right? So Tillanali's Knight, I do like it in your dinosaur deck, despite the fact it's not a dinosaur. It is a human knight. But I'd throw this as going to be one of my non-dinosaur creatures in my dinosaur deck that I'm happy to include. Otherwise, obviously, if you don't have a lot of dinosaurs, it's just a 2/2. 2/2 for 2, I think there are better creatures in the set that you can include rather than this if you're not playing dinosaurs. Tillanali's Skin Shifters, 2 generic mana and a red for a rare human shaman. It's a 0/1 with haste. Whenever it attacks, it becomes a copy of another target non-legendary attacking creature until end of turn. So, if you have other good attacking creatures, this is good. If you don't, it's not. Flat out. So, if this attacks alongside, I'm going to use my favorite card again, Charging Monstrosaur, it becomes a Charging Monstrosaur. So, obviously, if you can't become legendary, because if it became legendary, you'd have to sacrifice one of them, and you don't want to do that. So, if you have that, it's good. Unfortunate thing is, this doesn't set off other dinosaurs. It doesn't have a relevant creature type on its own. But if it becomes a dinosaur, obviously it'll have the dinosaur creature type. If it becomes a pirate, it'll care about that. So I try not to be torn on cards. You're like, okay, this is good, or I would play this. I would play this, or I would not play this. This I'm honestly not sure. Because I want my turn 3 play to be a little more impactful. This can be impactful later on. This could be a 3-mana charging monster sword or something big, gigantic, and stupid. Nope. Something big, gigantic, and stupid. But there's a good chance it could not be. I might play one of it, but I can also see this being one of the cards I quickly side out. So I'm iffy on it. I try to pick a position for you guys, but on this one, I'm iffy. I'm probably going to play it because the high end on it is really good. The potential with it is really good, but like I said, if I lose game 1 and I had this on the board, this is one of the things that's coming out. Right? Trove of Temptation is our flip enchantment for red. It's 3 generic mana and a red for an oh no, this isn't that, sorry. I was wrong. It's 3 generic mana and red for a uncommon enchantment. Each opponent must attack you or a planeswalker you control with at least 1 creature each combat if able. At the beginning of your end step, create a colorless treasure artifact token with tap, sack this, make a mana of any color. I don't like this. I don't want my opponent attacking me if he doesn't have to. Yes, if I already have a board that's bigger than my opponent's, and this just makes him kill his creatures into my board, then great. But if I'm already ahead of the board, I'm not worrying a whole lot. So this is a win more to me, and I'm not super excited about playing that. Because if I'm behind, I don't want my opponent attacking me if I'm behind on board. I don't want to make him have to. I want to make him make that decision on his own. Unfriendly Fire. 4 generic mana and a red for an uncommon instant. It deals 4 damage to target creature or player. This is your removal in red. Play a copy of this, you'll be fine with it. There's a lot of X5s in the set, but this is going to kill a lot of things that aren't. And there are a lot of things that aren't. So, and also, in fact, it also just chunks your opponent for 20% of their life total. So, hey. Unfriendly Fire. This is your removal. This goes in your removal slot. Pick it, play it. You're going to have a good time. Definitely don't play more than 2. I'm hoping to have other just kill that removal. Like I'd play 1, absolutely for sure. I'd play 2 if I'm light on other removal. Definitely not paying more than that. Vance's Blasting Cannons is our legendary enchantment flipping into a land. It costs the enchantment part, costs 3 generic mana and a red for a rare legendary enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. If it's a non-land card, you may cast that card this turn. Whenever you cast your 3rd spell in a turn, you may transform Vance's Blasting Cannons into... So let's talk about that first. You have to cast 3 spells in a turn and transform this. That doesn't happen a lot in Limited. I don't know about you, but I end up top decking a lot in Limited. I don't often cast 3 spells in Limited, unless there's 3 really cheap things that I'm holding in my hand so I can set off my Vance's Blasting Cannons. Because of that, this isn't one of my favorites in Limited. This might get there in Standard, but probably not also. Because you have to do that. Like, think about Chandra. Did Flip Planeswalker Chandra get there? Not really. A little bit in play, but not like a big staple like Jace was. It flips into Spitfire Bastion. It's a legendary land. Produces red, as your land does. It 2 generic mana and a red, and tap for it to deal 3 damage to target creature or player. So you have a repeatable bolt, which is good, but the flipping it. If you can flip it, awesome. If you have the deck made where you can flip this, you have a bunch of opts, and lightning strikes and cheap stuff like that to play, great. I would include this. In the vast majority of decks, though, I'm not going to include this, because I'm probably never going to cast 3 things in a turn in Limited. Wily Goblin is 2 red for an uncommon Goblin Pirate. It is a 1/1. When Wily Goblin enters the battlefield, make a treasure. It lets you ramp. Getting your treasure is like getting a land, a temporary land. So it lets you play your 4-drop on turn 3, your 5-drop on turn 4, etc. That's the only reason I would play this, because it's 2 red for a 1/1. So the color cost is really specific, so you're rarely going to play this on turn 2 unless you're really heavy red, and it's just, I'm probably not going to pay it. I'm sorry, unfortunately, I'm not excited for that. The body and the potential upside is not big enough for me. So we're going to go back to our land. That was our last red card for Ixalan. What do you guys think? Do you guys agree with me? Do you disagree? Are there some cards you're excited to get your pre-release? What do you want to play? If you're watching this after your pre-release, how did the cards perform for you? Did they do well? Did they underperform? What do you think? I want to hear back from you in the comment section down below. While you're at it, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, everything that lets people know that Gas City Gaming is here and what we're trying to do. Well, guys, that's it for I Got For You today. Don't forget to tune in, check out the rest of our set review as well. We got a video on each color and one on multicolored artifacts and lands as well. So I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you again.